Donald Trump says Iran informed US before the Qatar strikes. Trump says Iran's strikes on US bases were weak. Trump also added that 14 missiles were fired, out of which 13 were downed and one, of course, had reached the target. Trump also said that no Americans were harmed and no damage was done because of the strikes. And he also added that hopefully there will be no further hate. So that's the statement that Donald Trump has made on the strikes by the Iranian side on the US base in Qatar. Trump claims that Iran had informed them before the strikes, and he also claims that the Iranian strikes on US bases were weak. 14 missiles were fired, out of which 13 were downed, and no Americans were harmed, no damage was caused because of the strikes. And he also added that hopefully there will be no further hate. And Rohit Sharma continues to stay with us. Rohit, Trump claims that Iran had informed US before the strikes in Qatar on US bases. How do you view this, informing before conducting strikes?
I think President Trump is correct. So we know for a fact that the Iranians did give a heads up to the Qataris that they were going to attack the U.S. base in Qatar. So it is possible that the Qataris relayed, and I'm assuming they did, relay the message to the Americans. And I think this is President Trump's way of mocking the Iranians, right? By saying that, oh, thank you so much for letting us know that you were going to attack us. It gives us enough time to move our assets out from the airfield and, move them to a different location. So I think it was President Trump's way of, the way he talks and the way he expresses himself. So he went on to add that, those two lines on his Truth Social to say, I want to thank the Iranians, because at the end of the day, I think everybody knows for a fact that had this been a damaging strike to U.S. assets or U.S. soldiers, we would not be in the position we are in right now. This would have escalated beyond Iran's control. So that was President Trump's messaging. He's talked about how this in several different posts since then. He's now talking about peace and love in the region and prosperity for both countries, Israel and Iran. So I think he's sending out that messaging that once this war ends in 24 hours, they can go back and talk about how to bring peace in the region permanently. Now, it's a big ask. I mean, no U.S. president has been able to do it up until now. But I think President Trump is sending a very optimistic tone out to the world, to Middle East, to Israel, and to Iran, that he's looking forward, towards the end, to end this war finally in the next 24 hours, and then whatever lies ahead, he thinks he can bring peace to the region permanently.
All right, Rohit, thank you so much for getting us all those details and for that context. So US President Donald Trump said that a complete and total ceasefire between Israel and Iran will go into force with a view to ending the conflict between the two nations after 12 days of war. Here's a report.
Explosions were heard across Doha on Monday as Iran launched missiles at a U.S. airbase in Qatar's capital. The attack was retaliation for U.S. airstrikes on Iranian nuclear sites over the weekend, when it joined Israel's air war against Tehran. But just hours later, U.S. President Donald Trump announced on his Truth Social platform a, quote, complete and total ceasefire between Israel and Iran. He congratulated the two countries on having the stamina, courage, and intelligence to end what he called the 12-day war. Trump had said Iran gave the United States notice prior to the missile attack in Doha, which he said made it possible for no lives to be lost. Early on Monday, Israel bombed a political prison in Tehran, in a renewed demonstration of its willingness to strike not only military and nuclear targets, but key pillars in Iran's ruling system. The Trump administration maintains its aim is to solely destroy Iran's nuclear program, not to open a wider war. But in a social media post on Sunday, Trump spoke of toppling the hardline clerical rulers, who have been Washington's main foes in the Middle East since Iran's 1979 Islamic Revolution.